Hello everyone, this is the complete tutorial to setting up two different virtual machines, and then I'm going to clone one of them with Clonezilla Live Debian Live. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Now if you haven't installed it already, anytime you install a VirtualBox and you want to make this work so that we have the boot up part of it, you need to install this extensions that I've included in the Clonezilla object folder that's on the server. You can find this folder, Clonezilla Project is what it is. Okay, so inside that project folder you'll have the three ISOs that I need. One is the Windows 7 Enterprise, one is the Debian Live, one is gparted, which is to be able to partition the drive. And what I've done here is I've included this extension pack, which is important to run. You need to run the extension pack. Now it's telling me that I can reinstall it. This is just to set it up so that it'll work with booting to the network cards when we're done. And just make sure that you've installed that. So you can install VirtualBox, everything is set up, but you need to make sure that the extension pack is installed in it, because you won't be able to do the boot up process from inside of VirtualBox without it. So we need to create two VirtualBox drives. Let me let this finish here so I can click OK on it. There we go, it's finished now. So I'm going to click on New, and I want to create a new machine. So click on Next. I want to call this one Win 7. Okay, and what I want to do is do an underscore, and I want to set up what the IP. I'm sorry, not an underscore here. There's my underscore. So I want to call this Win 7. And I want to name the IP address. So I'm going to call this one 192.168.120.10. Okay? This is what my IP address, when I'm going to set up my static IP address as. So this is Win7. This is the one I'm probably going to end up cloning. So just so you know that I'm putting the IP address in, I'm going to name this operating system right off the bat. So to do that, then I'm going to click on the Windows 7. I noticed that it come up already, but I want to change over to the Win 7 64-bit edition. Go ahead and click Next on that. Leave the default memory setting of 512. Create a new hard disk. Yes, by leaving it default. Recommended size is 20 gigs, so I'm going to go ahead and do the VDI. I want to select Fixed Size. Click Next on that. And I'm going to go ahead and default leave it as 20 gig. And it's going to go ahead and create the hard drive as that drive right there. So I'm going to click Next on it and create. And let's go ahead and wait for that. Alright, looks like it's finished. Let's go ahead and click Create. And you'll see that I created this one just to make sure everything's okay. So what I want to do now, before I continue on, I want to make sure that the network card is set up correctly. So I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to go to Settings, and let's go ahead and select the network card, and make sure you change this NAT to internal network. Internal network. Make sure you change the network card to internal network. Okay, let's go ahead and create the second one. So next, I'm going to call it as well Win 7. Whoops, I got a cap locks key on. Win 7 underscore 192.168.120.11. That's the one I'm going to call this. Remember my previous one, I called it 192.168.120.10. This one's IP address is going to be 120.11. So let's make sure that we change this over to 64-bit. Click Next on it. Click Next again. Next again. Click Next. Fixed Size. Next. I'm also going to create a 20 gigabyte hard drive with that as well. And then create. And there he goes. Alright, that one's all finished. Let's click Create on that. And now we have both of them created. Again, let's right click on this new one, go to Settings, and I want to make sure the network card is changed over from NAT to internal network again. Okay? So just to make sure both of them are set that way, go back to the first one I created, go to Settings, Network, and this one is also turned into the internal network. Alright? So now let me go into both of them and start the install on it. So I'm going to go to Settings, And I want to click on storage, and I'm going to highlight the CD-ROM drive, which is empty. Then I want to move the mouse all the way over to this last little CD-ROM drive, and if you notice it pops up and it says, you guys might be able to see this. Let me move it over a little bit. It says, if you hold it over the top of it, it says set up a virtual CD DVD drive. And what it's going to do is give me the option to select an ISO image. So I'm going to click on that, click on the virtual disk file, highlight it, and I'm going to select. Now I'm going to go to my Clonezilla project, and I want to select the 7600. This is the ISO image to create Windows 7 Enterprise 64-bit. So I'm going to click open on that. This is looking good. So, and I'm going to go to the second one and do the same thing again by going to that, my 192.168.120.11, right click on it, go to settings, and I'm going to go to the storage, empty CD-ROM container, click on the CD-ROM icon, choose virtual disk drive, and then select the same ISO image under my Clonezilla project again. Click OK on that, and that one is set up, and I'm going to go ahead and run each one of them by double clicking on it, and it starts it up. And let's click on the other one here, start it up as well. I see that both of them are running. They don't quite fit on the screen too easily, so I'm going to kind of separate them up here just a little bit so you guys can see a little bit of what's going on with them. I don't want to capture anything on that just quite yet. Okay, I'm going to click next on that, click install now, just so you guys can see this. Alright, accept terms of the license, click next, go to custom, and just go ahead, since that drive is already pre-selected, just click next on it, start the install. Let's go to the other one, click next on it, install. And just waiting for this last one to configure. Sometimes it's going to get a little slow when you're installing two operating systems at the same time. May make it just a tad bit slow. So I'm going to click next on that. Click next as well. Go to custom. Click next again. And you can see both of them are installing now. Okay, see them both at the same time here. Got my percentages up on the screen. I believe you guys can see that okay. Okay, looks like it's almost finished here. It's just going through a couple last steps. Probably going to blink here a couple times, meaning it's installing the OS. Wait a few more seconds. Looks like it's going to restart. Looks like it's restarting okay. All right, let's go ahead and shut down the server edition as well now. So go to Start, Shut Down. All right, that shut down. So my server is going to be the 192.168.120.11. So I need to add one more hard drive. This will be my data drive, so I can create an image to be able to set it up. So I'm going to right-click on this, go to Settings. Then I'm going to go to Storage, and I want to highlight the SATA controller, and I want to create a new data drive. So I'm going to highlight this, Add Hard Drive. So first I'm highlighting the controller that's on it. Click on Add Hard Drive, which is right here. Create New Disk. Leave it as VDI. Fixed size. Click Next. And I'm just going to call this Disk 2. And I'm going to change this to 30 gigabyte. That's going to be your minimum. Okay, let's click Next on it, and then go ahead and create. And it's loading up. Looks like it's going good. Alright, it looks like it's created the new hard drive. I have it down here. If you highlight it here, you'll notice that I have a secondary drive in here, which is really good. And I have my first one, which is only a 20 gig. My 30 gig here is going to support my imaging of the drive, and it's also going to support a part of the. It's going to need a little bit of a swap partition when it's creating that image, so it should be enough room to be able to handle it. Alright, now I'm going to click OK on it. Let's fire that one back up by double clicking on it or clicking on the Start menu while you're highlighted it. Let's go ahead and open it up again. And it's just about there, so let's wait just a little bit longer. Waiting for it to completely boot up. Alright, looks like everything started up. Let's go ahead and log in again. Type CSD. Looks like everything's letting me log in, no problem. Alright, and then the first place that I want to go to add that drive is I want to go to Start. I want to go to Control Panel. I want to go to System and Security, and I want to go to Administrative Tools. Once I'm in Administrative Tools, I can go to Computer Management. And then once Computer Management is, I want to click on Disk Management. I usually double click on that. And you notice it detected the drive that we created. Leave it MBR is fine, and then it's detecting it as Disk 1. That's fine as well, so click on OK. And you'll notice it right down here that it was detected, so I want to highlight this area, okay, which is unpartitioned and it's unformatted. I'm going to right click on it, go to Simple Volume, click Next on it, and I want to do the entire space. Yes, click Next, and Next one more time, and then I want to do Perform a Format, leave all defaults. Let's click Next on it, and then Finish, and waiting for that to finish formatting, and it's done. Let's close the disk management. Close this little window that opened up. Close also the tools to set up to where we went to inside System and Security. Let's close this one down. Go back to Start. Go to Computer. And you notice I have my 30 gig drive here. Okay. So again, to get to that, I want to go to Start, Computer, and I want to go to the drive. Remember, this is my server drive. And if I click Start, you notice that this is the server. Here's my IP address that it's set up on here as well. Okay. So I want to go to the E drive, and while I'm on the E drive, I want to go into the folder. If you notice up here, so I'm going to right click in this folder, create new folder, folder itself, and I'm going to call it data in lowercase. Then once I've done that, I want to make sure I add the ability for me to log on through another computer. So I'm going to right click on this. Then I want to go to Properties, and then once I'm in Properties, I'm going to go to the Sharing tab. Then click on the Share tab. You notice this is for data. Then I want to click on the arrow down, which is right here, and I want to go to Everyone, and I want to go to Add, so you notice that everyone's added into it. Click on this little arrow, and then Read Write is on there. Click Share. Okay, now I've shared it. See, it says it right there. Now this is my server name, but we want to use only the IP addresses, okay? This one's server PC, but to log into it, we want to use the IP address to it, okay? So if we'll look back here, you can see this on the server itself, which is the 192. Here's the workstation that I have in the background. Let's see, here it is, right? I'm going to minimize this. Oh, I haven't started it up, so I need to start the other one up to be able to go to it. Now that I have this running now I have a share. If I went to start and I went to computer, and you notice here on the network, okay, click on this right down here and it'll come up and it'll show this PC. If I double click on it, you notice that it already has a shared drive called data. Okay, that's where we're gonna put our image at. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to go down here and I want to start up my other Windows operating system, which is stopped. This is Windows 7. Let's fire this one up. Now remember, all these things are only going to work if you guys have actually set up and made sure that the firewall is open, made sure, as I showed you guys before, make sure your IP address is set, make sure inside of VirtualBox, I'm going to go ahead and OK that, make sure inside of VirtualBox down here that the network cards are set to internal network. This is crucial to making this work correctly, okay? Alright, I'm going to minimize. This is my server, which is the .11. So I don't need that one right now since I'm going to create shares inside of my work server. I'm going to type in CST to log into my password. CST. So now that I'm inside my first one, this one is, if I click on start, you notice that this is my work server. Also, its IP address is right up here, 192.168.120.10. So what I'm going to do is let's go to start, type in CMD, hit enter on it, and before I even begin to try to add a map drive, I want to type in ping space 192.168.120.10. Alright, so since I'm on there, let's ping it. Oh, sorry, not 10. It's .11. I want to ping the other server that's on there and make sure that we can get to it. So I'm going to hit enter. And it sure does look to me like it's responding, which is a good sign. So the other server's running in the background. Let's try to add a map drive to it as well now. So let's type in net use. And let's give it a drive letter of H, which is fine. // So I'm going to the other server. If we drop this down, you can see. Let me fire it up here real quick. Okay, so I'm going to make this so you can see both of them at the same time here. Okay, here in the background you see this is my server, or my workstation running on my server that I'm going to store my image on. And that's running 192.168.120.11. And then here it is. I'm going to add a map drive to that. So I'm going to type in 192.168.120.11 / data, because that was my share name. I hit enter. It should ask me for a username and password if it's working correctly, which it did. So remember, the username that I'm logging into in the background here is just server by itself, since this is the workstation I'm logging into for the mapped drive. Okay, so let's click back on here. So server is what it's asking me to type in. And then I'm going to hit enter on that and type in CST. And if the password is correct, it'll give me command completed successfully. If I click on start, go to computer, you notice that I have a map drive now over to that server. So I have a connection to it. I have a valid connection. Now I'm ready. After all those setups, now I'm ready to take an image of this operating system. So to do that, I'm going to disconnect this map drive. And again, this is my workstation version or work server, which is win7_192.168.120.10. Excuse me. So now what I want to do is I want to right click on this, and I want to say I want to right click on the hard drive. So if I'm not already there, you guys can get there. So click on start, computer. I want to right click on the drive and I want to check for any errors. So I'm going to go to properties, click on the tools tab, and then click on check now. And then I'm going to click on start and then schedule disk check. Click OK on it, and I'm going to close these windows down. And what I need to do is not shut down, but I'm going to restart. So I'm going to click on Start, click on the arrow, and then Restart. I'm going to wait for that to come up. And you guys will notice that it's actually coming up right now. Excuse me. You'll see that it says checking file system C. Type of file system is NTFS. And you notice that it's actually going through and it's checking the drive. It's removing any possible errors, because if Clonezilla is running and it notices an error on it, it's going to stop right in the middle of imaging it and it won't continue. So we need to finish this part of it. Let's get this going. It's just about done. Looks like it's starting up okay now. Alright, now if you notice, it's running here again, so I'm going to go ahead and log in to this one just so I can shut it down, CST, because this is my workstation that I'm going to make an image of. Just going to log in here real quick, just make sure it's all okay. And then I'm going to go straight to shutting it down, so click start right afterwards and then shut down. And it did shut down. So this is my server that's running in the background. I want to keep that one running for this project. So now what I want to do is I want to right click on my workstation one, not the one that's my server, which is running right now. I want to go to my workstation one. I want to right click on it, go to settings. Then I want to go to storage. Highlight the CD-ROM. Click on the CD-ROM again. So I want to choose a new image, this is the one that I included in the Clonezilla project folder. And you'll see it right here. This is Debian Live, which has Clonezilla on it. I want to highlight that. Add that image into it. You'll notice that it's selected right here. And then I want to make sure that it's booting up to that. So I want to click on System. And then I want to highlight the network. I'm sorry, not network. I want to highlight the CD-ROM and I want to bump it up to the top just to make sure that it's booting. So under System, up to the top, click OK on it. So what I did here again is right click on this, Settings, and I selected Storage, changed to my CD-ROM to this Debian Live image. Then I went up to System, made sure that that was set up, and then I changed it to the CD-ROM. Alright, now that we've done that, I'm going to right click on here, make sure that the CD-ROM is ready to go. Alright, I'm ready to run my Debian Live here and do a Clonezilla image. So let's go ahead and start that. Alright, let's start it. Yep, click on enter, go ahead and run it. Looks like it's firing up okay. Alright, let's go ahead and click on English. No key map. Yep, hit enter. Again, which is 0 is the default. Stretching just a little bit out of the screen here. I'll move it back in. Looks like it loaded up okay. Use the default config. And let me drag this over so you guys can see this. And you want to click on Clonezilla Live. There's two of them. The server's when we're going to create an image, and Clonezilla Live right here. Double click on it. Yep, and I want to use a device image because I want to make the image of the operating system I'm currently running in an image. So I want to click on enter. And then I want to run a Samba server, so I want to connect this Unix box over to my server machine, which is the 192.168.120.11 .11. So I'm going to highlight the Samba, click enter on it. I want to use a static IP address for this one, so static IP. And let's go ahead and add 2 zeros to it, so it's different from the two that we have. Remember, we have one that's 10 and then one that was 11. So if I do 100, then it won't have any conflict on the IP addresses. So I'm going to go ahead and click enter on that one. And then the next one here I'm going to do, so that the subnet mask, leave that's correct. 255.255.255.0 is correct. And I want to change that default gateway to 1. Click enter. Go backslash. Click 1 for the name server. Okay, so it's 192.168.120.1. Hit enter on that, and now it's asking me for the server that I'm trying to mount, which is this one in the background here. I'll show you. This was my other server. Remember, this one was .11 right here. So this is running in the background. It's all set up, and all I want to do is I want to log onto that share. So this is the one it's asking me for, which is .11. So I'll put 11 on there, hit enter, and I want to type in, because this is a work group. Okay, click enter, and I want to change it to the login name that's on this machine here in the background. If you guys see that, and to find out what that is, I go to start, and then this one I named server. Okay, so that's what my current login account is. So I want to type in server. Okay, click enter on it, and then remember I changed my data folder. The share that I created, I went as over here onto this computer. This is my one that's my server that's running. I want to go to my computer, I'm sorry. And then you notice on my drive E, I named that data share, which was data. So just so you guys can see where I'm getting all this information from and where this is at, this is my data folder right there. So that's what I'm trying to log into. So if I go, let me minimize this one. So I want to type in data over here. Okay, click enter on it. And click enter on the server. And I want to type in my password, which was CST. You notice that it doesn't bring anything up, so you can't make any typos because it'll fail. So if I hit enter here and I see the drive information, then I know that it actually worked. But if I don't, it's going to be red. Hit enter on it. Now, I see the drive information. Remember, I created a 30 gig drive, and it says that's what I have available on it. So it is working. So great. So everything's going good. I'm going to hit enter on this one. And I'm going to do expert mode. Choose your own options. I want to save disk as a local disk image, so I'm going to hit enter on that. And then what I want to do is I want to change this name so something that I know what it is, so the image will work. So I want to call this one, let's call Leroy VM image. Okay, make sure it has the dash at the end of it like that. So I'm going to hit enter for OK. And yes, this is the partition that I'm backing up. It also says it's a VirtualBox hard disk, but that's okay. Remember, look at it, it's 21 gigs. So I want to click yes, it has an asterisk on it, so I want to click enter to accept that. And I want to go down here to clone partition image, so it's NTFS clone, and then I want to hit enter on that. And then I want to come down here, down to where it says NTFS OK, and I want to hit the spacebar on that and then do an asterisk on it and click enter. And then I want to make sure I do no compression on this one. Won't work, so I want to make sure I go down as quickly, make it to as small of a file as possible. So I'm going to click no compression. The only reason why I'm doing this one is because that's all that will work inside of VirtualBox. All the other features won't work. It won't compress it. It doesn't have enough computing power to do it. So you want to just do no compression. But if you're doing this in the workforce, sure, you can use the first one there, gzip compression, fast with Samba. You can do it, or the slow ones, you can just experiment with it when you're doing it on a real machine. So I'm going to click enter on this one, so no compression. I'm going to change that default value, add one more zero to that to make that 20,000, so I make a large enough partition. And if you guys go ahead and read through that, you'll see what the description is. So 2000 makes only a 2 gig file, so that 20 gig would break it up into, what, 5 different files? That would be 10 different files just to make that one little 20 gig. So you don't really want to go through that. You want to be able to make it into one file itself. That's why I'm adding the 0. So click enter. Skip checking and repairing source. Click enter. No, I do not want to check saved image. Click enter on that. And then do nothing when Clonezilla finishes. Yes, I want to leave that default. Hit enter on it. And notice that it's green down there, so that means that it mounted the partition. Everything's good so far. If it was red, then you had some kind of an error in what you selected. Could be a dead partition, could be it's corrupted, kind of depends. But just know that the green means everything's a go. Click enter again. And it looks like I want to accept this. Yes, I'm sure I want to continue. It's asking me if I want to create that image, which is Leroy VM image. Yes, I do. So let's click enter on it. Actually, I had to type in Y first and then click enter on the last one. And you notice it is creating my image. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it here. And when it comes back, we'll confirm that it's running. Looks like it's almost done here. Finishing its final phase here. Yep, looks like it finished with no errors. Let's click enter on it. Okay, fire down. Let's go to the other server running down here. Let's go into the data folder. And yes, it did. It created an image. So now I have the Clonezilla imaging file. So you guys will see them here. Let's see what's the total size. I'm going to right click on this. Go to properties. Looks like about 5.94 gigabytes. Well, alright, that works for me. Let's go ahead and run the server now. Let's go ahead and create an image. So now that I have this one running in the background, so let's go ahead and I'm going to add a new one here. So I'm going to go to new. This is going to be my imaged actual clone or virtual box. Okay, this is what the whole point of why you would create an image, why you would want to add it over to a network where you can make some clones of it. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is go to new. I'm going to add a new virtual box. So I'm going to click next. I'm going to call this one Win7 clone. Okay. And then I want to change this, make sure this is the 64-bit version. Okay. Then click next. Click next again. And I want to create a new hard disk. Click next. And I want to leave it as VDI. Click next. Do fixed size. Click next. Click next. And leave it as the default 20 gig drive. And then create. Looks like it's almost done here. A little bit more to go. And it's just about done. Good. Now we can click on create. Okay, so the lastly here, what I need to do is I need to right click on my clone. There's no server, there's no operating system installed now, so I'm going to right click on it, go to settings, and what I want to do is I want to change the network interface to internal network. Then what I want to do is I want to go to system and I want to turn on the network card to boot. So I'm going to highlight the network card, move it up to the top of the list. Again, make sure that your network's set to internal network, system, and my network card is going to be the first booting device. I'm going to go ahead and set the hard drive up as the next one. So the first one needs to be the network. Okay. So what I'm going to do before I turn that on, I'm going to go back to my server that's running, my OS one, and bring it back up here again. And now, since I did this before, I'm going to click on the Clonezilla Server edition in here. So let's go ahead and run that. Alright, let's answer yes to that. Alright, we want to log on to the server where we have our image file. Remember, that one was the 192.168.120.11. This is the one running in the background. You see this one right here? This is what my server is. That's where my image is lying. So what I want to do is let's do the Samba server. Click enter on it, and I want to give it a number that's totally different from the one that I'm using right now. So right now that this is mounted, I want to go ahead and add the Samba server that we did, but whoops, which is 11. Okay, so let's click enter on that. 192.168.120.11, and I want to call it, the domain is work group. Hit enter on it, and if you guys remember, my login name was server, and I'm going to click enter on that. And remember, I want to change it to the image or data, which was on that server. Click OK on it. I want to enter the password for it, which was CST Hit enter on that one as well, and you notice that I have the drive result, so I can see the 30 gig drive again, so I know that it's connected. If it was red here, then you guys either enter the wrong username and password or both. So I'm going to click enter on this, enter again, which everything looks okay. You're going to see it start adding some virtual network cards. It looked like it picked 192.168.100.1, which was what it was setting up. Good. I can see that at the first boot, to log on to it, I get a lot of green characters here, meaning that it's adding the IP addresses, which everything means that it is working. And then once I'm done with this, just about done, let's go through it. Still waiting here. Almost done. That's okay that you see one that's failed there, but look, there's one right after it. And it did start without failing. So it's setting up its own DHCP server. Okay, I want to select all clients, which is fine. And I want to do beginner mode, accept the default options. And I want to go down here to where it says restore disk. We're not saving a disk, but we're going to restore a disk. Click enter on it. And I want to go down here where it says true, do nothing when Clonezilla finishes. So I'm going to click enter on that. And you notice that it found the image that we just did just a little while ago, which was the Leroy VM image, which is good. Click enter on that. Accept that it's going to partition the hard drive, which this SDA disk. Yep, that's exactly what I want. Multicast it is fine. Go ahead and click clients to wait. Let's do that. And do I want to do it on 100 clients? Let's just accept the defaults just to make sure that it works. You guys can change this later once you've gotten it to work. You want to fine tune your skills. So I'm going to click next on that. 300 seconds is fine. Yep, let's hit enter. Looks like everything's good. Enter again. It's adding its virtual IPs, which is fine. There we go. It's running. So you guys want to leave this screen on. You don't want to close it. It tells you right there, do not close this window until the clients finish the clone. This window must remain open. So let's go to our new server here. This is the one that we made a clone of. Now when I double click on this, you should see it's going to boot up to the network. Well, unless it has no medium. That's what it's trying to do. It's trying to find something to boot up. Click start on it, and what it's going to do is now, since we set it to boot to the network card, as soon as it starts, it's going to come up, and you see that it's grabbing an IP address. It did, and look at that. It says it right here: Clonezilla multiclass restore Leroy VM image to disk, and it says 1 second. And it's going to load it. Right now, it's loading that whole image, and it's sending it over the network. Just about done here, which is good. And we're waiting for it to start, so it's going to take a few minutes here. So 300 seconds is going to be 5 minutes. Now I may run a little faster because it's running inside this virtual machine. So let's see. Okay, now we're waiting for it to start right now. Don't forget, guys, it's going to take a few minutes for it to start at this screen. What it's doing is it's waiting for all the other clients. I only have one. This software doesn't know I only have one client to log in, but it thinks it's waiting for a whole bunch of other ones, 100 other ones to get ready to go. And what's going here now is it's waiting its 300 seconds once this screen came up right here. This is its 300-second wait time. So I'm going to go ahead and wait again. Okay, looks like it's going through. Kernel finished. Sending over the information. And it's got one little more wait screen here to go. And it looks like my image is creating. Just about done here. And it looks like it's finishing here. If everything went good, it said that it was finished. It's going to the last phase here real quick, which is good. Everything's looking good so far. I don't see any errors. It looks like it's notifying Clonezilla that everything's done. And it looks like it's going to complete it right now, which is good. Awesome. Everything's finished. Syncing, everything ran. It looks like it's all working good. So let's go ahead. And it looks like we're done here on that respect. Hang on just a moment. Let's close out of this. This is the server that started up, so I'm going to close it down now. Power it down. And I want to remove the CD-ROM that it's booting to, so I'm going to go to Settings, right-click on it, and I'm going to select the CD storage. So let's go ahead and click on the drive. Yep, looks like it's going to be able to boot from the drive. It's set up. Let's make sure, go to System. Let's move the hard drive up as the first boot device. And let's click OK. And double click on it. Let's see if we cloned our Windows 7. Looks good to me. Looks like it's been cloned. Yeah, as you guys have seen here, that it copied the whole operating system over, which is good. And we'll just fire it up, let it finish. And there we go. We've got an exact copy of it. If you guys notice, if I'll run this old one that we had set up here, take a look. Now remember, the Clonezilla is running on this one, so I'm going to shut it down. You guys remember this one? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to power that one down so you can see that there's an actual clone of it. Right click on this one, go to Settings, and we want to remove that CD-ROM, the Debian CD here. So let's right click on it and remove attachment. Okay, so it won't boot up to the CD. And let's start that one back up again. Looks like it's loading it, no problem again. Remember, this is a clone that we loaded over the network with the Clonezilla Server. Okay, this is it right here. Looks like it's all ready to log in. I'm going to go ahead and log into it right now. Well, it should have an IP conflict, what it's going to complain about, I'm sure. Go ahead. Yep, look at that. Well, it's not complaining yet. Look at that. Now we have a clone of this operating system that was running over here. We have both of them. So now it's a copy of each one of them. So there you go, guys. That's a complete tutorial set up to do Clonezilla, to set up the two machines, to be able to do the hosting, to be able to do the imaging. Everything complete, including the virtual servers or the virtual workstations. There you go, guys. Enjoy.